we are coming into our second installment of a new segment that I am calling I got Indian in my family. If you were not here last week, we started this segment talking about how the Dawes Commission was the Dawes Commission is a living example of how of contract law and intellectual property being used to disenfranchise people. So, what does that mean? Do we have anybody here who claims American Indian, Native American ancestry? May be it, there's so many different tribes. But if you have some type of Native American ancestry, let me know in the comments, right? So there was this thing called the Dawes Commission. So when the Europeans came to the United States, and particularly in the Midwest, the Dawes Commission essentially destroyed the Native American communal land system. And they were allotting Native Americans land on an individual basis. But in order to get that land, you had to be labeled native, right? So so essentially, all right, Europeans come, things is going down with the Native Americans, it's not going well. They're like, we got to figure something out. They're like, okay, Dawes Commission, we want some of this land, you want some of this land. We don't believe in this communal system. We got the bigger weapons. Let's do this individual land system, and we'll give each Native American a plot of land. Kind of a sucky, resolution, but whatever. And of course, the Native Americans didn't have a concept of land ownership, so they're like, whatever, right? So because of this Dawes Commission, essentially the Native Americans agreed to a contract where they abandoned their communal land system. And in order to benefit from this communal land system, you had to be labeled or trademarked as a native person, right? But after the Dawes Act came something called the Racial Integrity Act. And this was the act that established the one-drop rule. It basically said if you were either white or you were colored, and there was not even the option of native. So if you're operating under the Racial Integrity Act, and you might, your family might have, you might have Native Americans in your family, you might be mixed, but they're saying you can either be white or colored. There's no native option. How are you going to get the land that you are owed if you don't even have the option of being recognized as a native person, right? So it's much like you know how what's his name, Tupe Fiasco over down there, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. He was talking about eliminating naturalized citizenship and all that stuff. Essentially, they said if you were not native by blood, you were if you were if you were a freed person of color, you could not inherit land under the Dawes rules because you were not considered Native American. There was no mixing. You could not check off the mixed box. You were either white, you were colored, and in some spaces you might be native. But because of the scarcity of land, because of the Dawes Commission, a lot of the tribes did not want to give the freedmen, meaning the emancipated slaves, the title of native, because that there wasn't a lot of land left, right? So through contract law and intellectual, I want to urge you guys to actually look these things up and think about it. They often say that the law is supposed to be devoid of emotion, but that is a lie. The law can be used to help, the law can be used to hurt. I remember I went to here in DC, we have something called the Museum of the Bible, and when they opened, they had an exhibit where they were showing, you know, how the Bible was used to support slavery and to fight slavery. And they actually had an entire floor where dedicated to you know, the what they called the slave Bible, the version of the Bible that they gave the slaves, and showing how you can use, you know, what is considered the law, because a lot of these, in that time, you know, a lot of people use the Bible as their metric. You can twist it to whatever you want. That is the beauty and the curse of law, is the way you phrase it, the way you use it. You can bend it, you can twist it. It is you can only do that if you know it. So that is why I really stress teaching these concepts of business law, of intellectual property, of how to properly set yourself up, because you can get caught up if you don't understand. Okay? But I really encourage you to look up the Dawes Commission and the Racial Integrity Act. Think about them through the lens of contracts and trademarks, and think about how the Europeans used that to disenfranchise an entire society. So those were the stories that I